So this is going to be a review on ratios. So we're going to start by talking about part to whole ratios. This kind of ratio relates one part of a collection to the entire collection. So if we look at this picture here, there are 7 basketballs compared to 20 different kinds of sports balls in total. So we would write it as a 7:20 ratio. We could also write that as a fraction and a percent since it's a part to whole. We don't really do this for part to part ratios though. So 7/20 as a decimal, it could be 0.35 or 35%. The other kind is part to part ratio. So this is where we compare one part of a collection to another part of the collection. So we could say 7 basketballs compared to tennis balls. So that would be a 7:8 ratio. There's other ones you could do. You could do them to golf balls there, or many different kinds. But that's a part to part. Now we're going to look at finding equivalent ratios. So this is actually done the exact same way as fractions. You can simplify them or make larger equivalent ratios. So if I had a 3:5 ratio and I needed a 12 to something ratio, I would see, well, what would I multiply by to get from 3 to 12? That's times by 4. So I would take this 5 and times it by 4 as well, and I would get 20. So those are the same ratios, just different numbers. I can work backwards as well. So to go from 48 to 24, I could divide by 2. So to go from 7 to this, I would divide by 2. I would get 3.5. So you can have decimals as well. We could ask you, are these two ratios equivalent? Well, there isn't one easy step anyway to get from one to the other. But what you could always try to do is simplify the ratio. So 20 over 30, I could divide both by 10. I would get 2 to 3. That is the same ratio. Now I can go from this ratio and try to see if I can match it up with this one. Well, to go from 2 to 14, I would times by 7. To go from 3 to 21, I would also times by 7. So that means that these ones are equivalent ratios. So again, we can multiply or divide one ratio by the same number and you'll find an equivalent ratio. So I could divide this one to simplify it. 4 would go into both of these. So that ratio becomes 3 to 4. Could also times this by 2. I would get a 6 to 8 ratio. There's an unlimited number of possibilities for equivalent ratios, just like equivalent fractions.